almost I messed that up. And hello everybody and welcome to ReadyUpTV episode 29. And today we've got probably one of the best lineups in quite a while. We have got Scarra from Team Dignitas. How are you, mate?
Good. I'm doing really good.
We have Deman. How are you, man?
I am good. I am very good, in fact.
Very good. Can I just jump into it? What you guys been up to then, Scarra? What you been up to?
I just moved into a new apartment a couple, like, just now, and so I'm just getting stuff set up. Don't really have too much, but as you can see, my room's a little bit messy. I don't know how much you can see in my bed behind me, but a little bit messy.
Yeah, you don't really mean much if you're a pro gamer, do you?
No, that's true. I literally only have like a lamp, a desk, and like a bed, and that's it.
And Demon, how you been up? How you been keeping up?
Oh, well, I've obviously had a pretty busy August, and people that follow my Twitter may have noticed I've been having decision issues lately. But I've been pretty busy down the gym, work, usual sort of thing. You know, us casters, we don't do a lot.
You mean becoming a Twitter caster?
Become a Twitter caster? Yeah, that was Saturday morning.
I have never been bombarded by so many Twitter things in my life.
Hey, that OGM finals was epic. There were some pretty good games.
I'm surprised you could do it that quickly. It was insane.
It wasn't that quick. I was only just doing the small things. The game doesn't move that fast.
That's true.
It was
Anyway,
great though. I was out and I left at game 2 and CLG EU were 2 games up, and then all of a sudden all of these tweets flew up my phone and it was like, oh, 3-2, and I scrolled back all the way and could track just about everything that happened. So thank you for the tweets. Like Dogbert may joke that they were annoying, but I actually enjoyed reading.
Yeah,
say they were annoying.
There was about 10% that people were getting annoyed with it, and I was just like, just unfollow. It's Twitter. It's not like you can follow me later, but like there was so many people at work saying, oh yeah, keep these coming, because I've been there myself when the Korean games were on every time, because they always used to be on a Tuesday and a Friday. So every time I was sat at work going, oh, I'm missing these awesome games. Every time Dignitas were playing COG, everyone that was out there, it was like these awesome production games in Korea, and I had to miss every single one of them unless I left like crazy time early at lunchtime.
Yeah, I find that with GSL as well. Sites are picking up now and on doing that live feed reporting. It's actually really good. But jumping straight into what you just mentioned about decisions, we have been absolutely bombarded with the same question. I've never had the same question asked so many times. What can you tell us about the tweet that you made saying that you had to make the decision about whether you will stick with the job you currently have or go further in eSports?
Right. I'll explain the situation, which is probably the best thing. Where I work is a big billion-dollar company, massive company, very private-owned, completely off-the-radar type company. It's very weird. It only deals with local traders. City Electrical Factors, if anyone wants to Google them, you'll see the website I maintain and everything that goes with it. So we maintain about 30 websites, I do, because I'm a web developer. Where I work, my brother's my boss, my mother works in the same department, my cousin works in the same department, my sister-in-law works in the same department, and I've worked there for 11 years, so the other people there I know pretty well. But, as I'm pretty sure everyone's aware that's watched League of Legends, I've been pretty busy commentating this year. So things have kind of picked up, events have got kind of busy. Our holiday days run from May till May, and I'm pretty much out. I am out of holiday until May 2013, so, which is where it's effectively now suddenly still getting all these events coming through, and it's like, I can't do anymore. And I've got to the point where I spoke to my boss, and I'll need to take unpaid days, and he said, that's it, that's enough. Can't do any more. It's unfair on everyone else there. So we had a heated discussion, shall we say, since my brother is my boss. He knows how passionate I am in these things. My family don't really get esports in any way, shape or form, really. So they kind of back me, but they don't really understand it, if you get what I mean. They're like, yeah, that's great, it's a hobby, yeah, just make sure you do your real job. Sort of thing. It's one of those kind of things. Is it going to pay the mortgage? Is it going to pay the mortgage? It's like, Jesus Christ, guys, I'm 35. I think I could make these decisions now.
And you're still having to explain esports
yeah,
to your parents.
but that's the hard situation that I'm now in. of a case of, do I choose esports? Do I go work elsewhere? Do some sort of part-time thing? Just live off events, maybe, if I could? Or do I continue where I am and have a stable salary, pretty much a life job for life, I guess you could say? And they're the decisions. And yes, I know people saw the Riot tweet. Yes, okay, I've spoken to them. But no decision's been made, so we'll make that clear right now. Nothing has been decided, so we shall see how the situation plays out. And you guys, I'm sure you'll see as soon as it happens.
Hmm. I mean, this basically must come down to sustainability with esports.
It is, and it's a case of, oh, would you go into esports? Well, yeah, but I've been around esports for 10 years now. I've seen CPL come and go. I've seen WSVG come and go. I've seen CGS come and go. I've seen all these things happen. The bubbles burst every time. And when CGS came and went, Jesus, was there a gulf. After that, there was like no events. America completely was void of esports. I think Europe had ESWC, and WCG was still going. Outside of that, there was nothing at all. So you think how many events we've had for StarCraft? There's like one every bloody weekend. League of Legends, there's one every. Well, I mean, August had what, 4 in it, 5 in it, something like that. November's got about 4 or 5 in it, something like that. Crazy. There's a lot of events out there. These things weren't happening. There was 2 in a year and nothing in America. And that's how scarce it got. So, excuse me for being a little bit skeptical because I've seen it come and go. However, with Twitch TV, which run right now, with Own TV, sustainability has kind of crept into esports now, and it's actually possible. We're seeing people like Scarra himself, all the streamers out there making money off esports, just from streaming alone, getting great numbers, providing great content that people love to watch. So I guess from that perspective, maybe I should start doing that. I don't know. Maybe that's something I should get into. But I can't imagine people really want to watch randomly commentated games. At the end of the day, they want to see the top players doing their thing. I don't know. Maybe I could commentate solo queue because there's plenty of times with the new spec mode that they're out there. Or go back to my old school replays that I used to do. I used to do the replays on YouTube, which is how I obviously got to know Scarra in the first place, doing the old Rock Solid videos on the real dodgy LOL replay way back then. I've been told it's got a lot better, so I'll have to give it a go again. Maybe go back to doing some of my YouTube stuff. I've left that untouched for so long. But the problem is, if you're doing events, you're pretty busy doing the events, and August was a crazy month. I mean, the last thing you want to do when you come back, and goddamn, day 9 is like a work machine, that guy. So Gamescom, we were like, he'd do 12, 14 hour casting of StarCraft back to back, and then we'd go, right, okay, we're going to go out for beer, like Taste Hard Toast, yeah, let's go out for beer, okay. Day 9's like, no, I need to go back to my room, I need to do it daily. It's just like, what? Are you serious? Cool. You've just done 14 hours casting. I could not do that. I wouldn't have the ability to go and do that. I know Total Biscuit does similar stuff as well, but I get back from these events, I'm just like brain numb. I just want to play ARAM. I think that's all they did between Gamescom and where do we go, Rally after that. I just played ARAMs for 2 days solid. Just had fun.
Is sustainability something that the players have discussed, Scarra? Is it a concern within the pro scene?
I think it's always an underlying concern. Not many of it is actively discussed between players, though. I think it's pretty much a given that like sustainability is always going to be an issue. But recently, it's been more reliable, or at least sustainability is more of a reasonable option now because of how Riot's going to do salaries going into Season 3. So I think most of the top 8 teams and maybe some up-and-coming teams are looking toward that as like a way toward doing what they want to do. And that's certainly something that like my whole team has been looking forward to, and especially now that we're guaranteed to be in like the Season 3 circuit.
How has being in the Season 3 circuit and the guaranteed salary changed any opinions from family members or friends?
I really haven't talked to any of them. For family member wise, or friends, obviously they think it's really cool that I can get paid to do like just play video games, and that's like the general gist of it. Is like it's great that you can make money off this, and you're making like an okay amount. And then for family, like my family's always supported me. Like I had to like give them an introductory talk about this a while back, almost a year ago, and they were like, okay, well, I can see you really like doing this. We support whatever you do, and that was a big like burden off my shoulders because like having family support means a lot to me. And they said that even if this falls through, like they'll support me regardless what happens, and so that was really big for me.
Actually, going back to one thing before, a lot of people probably don't know much about the CGS. There's one thing that's quite important is because it's got something kind of related to Season 3 in a way, is the way they bought out teams and had them kind of under their name. And when that collapsed in America, that's what decimated everything. All the teams pretty much disappeared overnight. Europe survived a lot better, but it did bring on a dark ages in gaming, which obviously we've come out, and the American scene's come out of it much, much better, but that's more to do with the games, I would say. But it's something it could easily... It's always a spectre that's going to be there. And I think
Europe survived by the fact that it still had Fnatic, Dignitas, SK. They had the stable team still there. America didn't really have them. Your 3D got bought out. Complexity kind of went, didn't it, in with it. Who else went in with it? There was a couple of them, but it took the teams. That was their main thing. And once they'd gone, they'd suddenly lost their major team, so they didn't really have anything to just sustain. And the managers went with them as well, and they became the owners, and they became everything there. So it ripped the whole roots out of the scene. League of Legends is very different in that respect. TSM, COG though are very much just purely they have LOL. They now got obviously Dota 2 teams, etc. They've expanded, or well, has TSM got a team? I'm sure they probably have, or will have soon if they haven't already. COG obviously have. They've got a pretty good one out there. No doubt Dignitas are going to have a top one very soon, or will have one sorted out at some point. And all the other teams. So it's not. It's like CGS, but it's different. I mean, CGS was very much for TV, direct TV type thing. Season 3, which is what you're getting at here, is done by Riot. So Riot have invested interest that this is going to work.
No, it's a massive
if it don't work,
yes.
their product's screwed. And it's the whole business is aimed towards it. So in that respect, it's kind of very different.
Oh, obviously one was more of an experiment, seeing how this would work on a TV scale, and obviously the format was, to be honest, a bit weird. Especially the games took on board were just some of them were just like, what, really? Okay. But yeah.
This might sound like a bit of a controversial question, and it's quite an open one. Do you think Riot's ready for what they've got planned for Season 3? Because this is a massive step up from Season 2.
It is a massive step. I'll take that one, because Scarra probably knows a bit more. I know he's been to Riot recently, so he's probably got a lot of the inside stuff he's not allowed to talk about. Yeah, I thought so. I mean, yes, look, they've got big plans. That's about as far as I can probably push it. They've got big plans, and I expressed my the same thoughts that I can say here. You know, I was a bit worried that they're basically, from an English point of view, they're creating a Premier League. So they're creating, I don't know, like a Champions League at the top. They're going to have 8 teams in Europe, 8 teams in North America. And I was like, but what's feeding into it? I said, to start with, there's not 8 good teams in America and 8 good teams in Europe. Certainly not of the same level. You know, if these suddenly get salaried teams, they're going to go so much higher because this is their job, this is their life. And you're going to get these teams that are like college graduate students just trying to put a team together, and they're going to get smashed. They're not even going to get close to that level, so they need something to feed up to it. I am fully assured that is all going to be in the plan, so I am delighted to see what these plans are going to roll out like to you guys at home. Certainly you've seen some of them, but you know, there's only so much that's allowed to be drip fed out there. What you have learned, you know, what's basically gone out into the public, what you guys know is effectively what had to be told, because we had the regionals coming up. They had to explain why, why this is such a damn big thing, because it is a big thing.
Big thing.
It's enormous, and it's more than any other game company, any other other than like CGS. It's basically what they tried, but it's purely for their product. And it's a huge, huge task. I mean, the salaries they're talking are not exactly that small either. They're pretty big. They're pretty sizable. It's going to keep people in a job for a year doing that game. They're basically going to come, I guess, celebrities, I guess you could say. Scarra himself is certainly probably. You said yourself in your interview, you got recognised on the street, didn't you, the other day? I mean, that's getting there. You're starting to get recognised in the area, and that's going to happen more and more because the way they're going to produce things. I mean, you got to realise once they've got these, you're going to have 8 teams, so you're going to have 4 games, a week or whatever. They're going to spread them out over, in top level production. So there's a lot of things your face is going to get thrust out there. And you're going to get pushed out. If you saw the North American regionals, the way they did the introductions then, I know for a fact I had a lot of European players going, oh, Jesus, they're not going to do that for the finals. Because I don't want to come out like that.
Oh, man,
Actually, that leads me to a question, Scarra. How did you find that sort of, the introduction? Because I can say now, Aranea spoke to me, and he's like, for that, I want to have music in my ears, and I want to be focused on the game. So how did that affect you guys? The intros, the walkouts, the high fives?
Oh man, it just seemed like an experimental thing that Riot was trying to push. Like they always try to make like each event like bigger and bigger, and so to do that, they have to experiment with a lot of stuff they're not very comfortable with. And so like you saw the introduction. The first game was against Curse or like
it was empty, yeah.
Yeah, or whatever. And they did like the walkway from the door onto the stage, and then like immediately after that game, they're like, "This is a bad idea. It's a horrible idea. We have to keep them like walking from behind the stage to limit like the awkwardness or something." Even though I thought it was hilarious. And then like the high five stuff, like they were like, "You don't have to do that." They told us that after like the first 2 days. They're like, "That's like kind of weird," and I'm like, "Okay, well." So like they kept trying to fix it while the tournament was going on, which I like because like I don't know, some of this stuff would have been weird, but I was always very confused because I was like, I went up to them and I was like, so why don't you have teams like coming from opposite sides to cross the middle so it's less awkward? And they're like, they explained to me, they're like, well, each side is color coded, so it'd be weird to have like one side with a different color coming in from like from a different color. And I was just like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But I went with it, and it seemed like I really like the production quality. Obviously, it's probably the best in NA so far, and I have high hopes that World Championship will also be even better. And I'm expecting like bunches of crazy stuff for that. But the ceremonies, all the stuff like that, kind of new for League of Legends. I know in StarCraft they've done like walk-in ceremonies before. I know we weren't given a choice for music, like a walk-in until like the last day, and by then we were just like, no, I forget that. But like we could have done like some crazy stuff. Like I know Crumbs and Kitty wanted to do the Gravedigger. Like Kitty would come in with like the like a wheel cart, and Crumbs would like dig them in, it'd be great. But then they're like, we can't do that. Like you can't have 2 people come in at the same time. And Crumbs and Kitty were all like so sad about that, but it would have been so sick. But
there were 3 of you just strolling past while they're doing it. Yeah, just like, don't mind us.
Yeah, it would have been amazing. But like they didn't really let us do that, and I'm hoping like we were allowed to. If they want us to do like extravagant ceremonies, like we can do that. But they just have to let us know like before like the day of the event. That'd be cool.
What are you hoping for? WrestleMania kind of style intro.
I don't know if you saw the OGN intro that they did there. The Summer Championships. COG Azuba, they carried the trophy like Snoopy and I can't think who it was. I don't know who the Korean player was that was carrying the trophy, and then they had to sort of go through the crowd, except they kind of got mobbed. It was kind of like, we can't get through the crowd. I actually saw the camera panned out, and the security guards are like, separate them quick.
I actually missed like the intro of the championships, but I like what they did in the spring, where they had like I think it was like tall curtains, and like each team was on like a rotating pedestal, and the curtains would go up, I think, or on a flat pedestal, and the curtains would go up. I thought that was really cool. And I know Riot tried to do that with like I think in Europe they did the rotating stage, right, from the backstage onto the front stage. Like I thought that was really cool, and they wanted to implement that in the States, but like they couldn't actually get it to work. I'm not
Well,
quite sure why.
It would have been good if we had enough games. The problem is with the regionals, and it was 8 games, and I can understand why they did 8 games because they didn't really have the time. I don't know what the venue restrictions were at PAX. I'm guessing that was probably down to the same sort of thing, why they did it basically 2 games, best of threes a day. If it was like a really busy schedule with groups, then it'd be like, yeah, we're done, bang, rotate the stage, here's the next teams, let's go, sort of thing
Yeah,
like
that'd
that.
be cool.
But when it was like, and we're done for an hour, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we don't really need to rotate this stage, do we?
The community seemed to react a little bit weirdly to the hype that was kind of sampled a little bit maybe from the fighting game community. There was the war of words between Team Dignitas and TSM was taken to the highest level of seriousness by the community. How do you feel about Reginald's comments and the way that the community reacted to them?
I discussed this a little bit before. It's pretty much like I'm not here to like start another like pitchfork fest. I really think that like I don't really think Reginald had a big issue with it. Like I should have apologized for not like I didn't exactly say that TSM played well, like outplayed us. And by fact of omission, people took that as in, like I was being rude. But that comes back to the point where like Riot tried to do a lot of different things with this event, and if you saw how the prize ceremony went, we had SteelG, the third place team, come on stage. They gave statements. Each player gave a statement, and then they had closing statements per player. And that was my assumption going up on stage. But then like suddenly they just switched it for second and first place, and we weren't able to give like any kind of statements outside the questions that we had to answer. And I was like, I didn't really think much of it at the time because I didn't think it would blow up like that. But it was a weird thing for us because we weren't able to make like a closing statement outside the interview questions. They kind of were just like, "You're done," and I'm like, oh, "Okay, that's cool." And it's unfortunate because it seemed like TSM took that a little bit well, and I can understand that because we didn't give them much credit for the win, which we should have. I understand that's my fault, and I apologize for that. But the vlog about it just really seems like I don't even know if Reginald's too annoyed by that or TSM in general is too annoyed by that. It just seems like TSM is trying to build their brand name by releasing like that type of drama because they know the community will eat that up. Like they will eat that for like as their meal for the whole day, like for like a whole week. And it seems very it seems weird to me because I'm not a person who wants to start like those types of things. But I mean, I guess if it's for the TSM brand name, like they have to do that to like increase their brand name. They want to be like the bad boys of League of Legends. Like that's fine. Like they can do whatever they want. But for me, it looked like a very like a stunt to try to make TSM like a bigger name internationally, and I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't particularly understand why there was any controversy about it at all, because we see it all the time in StarCraft. Somebody says, "Oh, I just played badly," and that's how you beat me. I don't understand why that's a particularly bad comment to make, because it's not like TSM are some trash team that are terrible. Everybody knows that TSM are good. Nobody's going to turn around and say, "Oh, you put down this tiny team and you were an ass about something." But do you think that the community is going to be able to handle those kind of comments if Riot want them in Season 3?
It's hard to say. Like I can't predict the growth or how community reactions will transition from now to like the next season. Like in the end, we are still playing video games, so communities inside esports typically like love drama and love to create drama. So it just depends. Like however much the community wants to shift away from these types of things will be eventually what happens. And it's too hard for me to say whether or not, like, I don't know if Riot will look to enforce stuff like that. I don't think they can even look to enforce stuff like that. So it's really up to the community to decide by themselves. And it's
It
kind
needs
of
to
a
be a
wash.
controlled rivalry if you're going to do something like that. And it's actually honestly down to the commentators as well, of how much you hype it up. I know Freak and Riv were probably told to hype things up, but they did it quite heavily. They did it, they pushed the rivalry, they pushed the Scarra versus Reginald thing, they pushed that sort of thing on you. So that in itself feeds to the community as well. So it's kind of our jobs as well as you guys. I mean, obviously, if a player goes off and says something pretty out there, then we're going to go, okay, we can't help you with that one. But if they're just trying to build a little bit of hype, we'll be able to sense it and we can control the hype and stuff like that. So it's going to be an interesting thing how they handle some of these things, because it's going to happen. When we had TSM Moscow 5 before at Kiev, it's not the first time we've had these sort of hypes built up, and there'll probably be in the past. I guess you could technically say this CLG Moscow 5, but it's a friendly hype between those two. And I guess old school was TSM CLG. I mean, it just so happens that Dignitas have stole CLG's position in the US scene, so I've kind of knocked them off. So it's only natural that they suddenly start building a hype towards it. Like you mentioned, whether it was something that TSM really actually took to heart, I don't know, or whether it's just something they were doing for vlog viewers. I don't know if that. I know what you're saying with that. I don't know. I mean, Andy didn't seem that annoyed by it when I actually saw the vlog. He was just sort of saying, haters get me more viewers anyway. So he kind of like enjoyed the fact.
Anyway, it must help you as a caster to have a bit of drama and build it into a bit of a story.
It does build the story, but that's what I'm saying. It's also I mean, we can build the story without the hype, without the rivalries. We can put something in there from history games, historical games, matches played between each other, stuff like that. And it is our job to either control the hype or build it so it gets crazy and people start backing in a certain team. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Carmack's blog he did yesterday. He posted one out there, which is very good. Talked about the stories, talked about the things that you've got to build up and things that you don't overdo. And sometimes when you can tell it's actually quite a bitter rivalry, you just play it down a little bit and let it just sit there. Everybody knows it's there, so you don't need to overhype it.
From your perspective about the Carmack blog, how many commentators do you think are actually at the level that Carmack's talking about right now in League of Legends?
In League of Legends?
Yeah.
Not many. I'm not going to say any names or anything.
I was waiting for it.
You're not dropping me in that one, boy.
That Miller guy is terrible. Get rid of him.
Yeah, no, it's. Well, I mean, let's face it, we've not been around long enough. The partnerships have not been there long enough. I'm not going to go down that route too much because obviously a lot of these are my co-casters, but there's no mistake that me and Joe have known each other for a long time, so we've got good chemistry when we're casting together. And one of the key things that I thought that he'd put in that vlog, and I mean, it's cheating because I've spoke to him beforehand anyway, and then suddenly this blog comes out and I was like, oh, you sneaky git, you were quizzing me on that. But he was talking about the fact that commentators don't really talk to each other, and that's a fact. But that's down to the fact that we haven't got partnerships out there that have been like that. So basically what he was saying is Tasteless and Artosis are an absolute godlike partnership. They've known each other for years. I think it was 2008 it was when Dan went out there to Korea or something like that. They were good friends. As soon as they met up, they got the same personalities, the same love for the game, dedication to the game, both effectively played at a pro level of some form. So they've got that relationship. So when they're commentating together, they're not just commentating on the game, they're having a chat about the game. But they're doing it in a way where you can listen to it and they're not just two guys chatting, just because when you listen to a stream, you'll hear two guys chatting, and sometimes that's just like, what are you doing? Just get on with casting the game. They'll slip it all in. They'll just slip in. They'll put the technical part in. And Dan said himself, Artosis said in the Real Talk thing with JP, he said, if the game is lost beyond belief, they won't just ham it up. They'll just start having a chat. And people can see it, and they're like, yeah, this game's lost. Okay, let's just talk about something else. Get on with it. But there's such a great partnership because they have that chat. And in League of Legends, there's not really anyone that does that. Freak and Riv don't even do that. they're good at casting the game, but separate. But they don't have that friendship. It seems. I don't know whether they're friends off outside of the game or not. I've no idea. I've only meet them at events, so I don't know how friendly they are. I know Jack and Jaws is obviously a fairly new combo, so they're never going to have it yet because they've been thrown together fairly new. Me and Joe probably to an extent, we definitely do because we've known each other for donkey's years. And it's the same with, I guess, Joe and Jason now. Obviously, the new combo at ESL. All the guys you listen to, the combos that say the NESL, etc., the TSM Invitationals, all of these things are just literally casters thrown together, just purely by the fact that they cast and they both want to cast the game. Hardly any of them ever cast together. Hardly any of them ever speak to each other outside the game. So there's no chemistry there. There's no they don't get on, if you get what I mean. So in that term, StarCraft, that's why people say StarCraft is at a high level casting, and it is, because you've got DJ Wheat out there who could cast with your grandmother and he'd make it sound awesome. You're right there, dear. Yeah, let's get on with it. You got Day 9 that can do similar type of thing. He's got that charisma, that flow that can go with it. You've got Tastes Artosis. You got Apollo that can do these things. You got Total Biscuit, that can do things, partnering with a decent play-by-play in the way they go, because he's got that voice, he's got that play-by-play commentary. Obviously, Mr. Bitter and Rotterdam. You've got these partnerships that have been forged for a year plus, 2 years plus, that are actually physical partnerships, like Kevin and Rotterdam, Mr. Bitter and Rotterdam, Kevin's the same person. Mr. Bitter and Rotterdam obviously started ESL, now at NASL. They've been together for 18 months, 2 years now. So they've made a great partnership. They're doing the events because of that. DJ Wheat talked about how Mr. Bitters broke into the scene as a new caster, and he's worked his ass off at it and worked his ass off at that relationship with Rotterdam. So it's you've got to work at it. And in League of Legends at the moment, not really anyone doing that.
Is there anyone you would, if you had to pair together people and kind of hope that they would have a long time pairing, who would you go for? Obviously yourself included.
Well, obviously it'd be me and Jack, wouldn't it?
What?
I think it goes without saying. Me and Joe are fantastic together. We are brilliant friends. We've got similar type of similar type of personalities. We're both English, both like our beer.
Drinking.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say big drinkers, but we'll oh, come on.
Have you seen Joe?
Joe's not that big a drinker. He's
turned up in a box once demanding beer. Stumbling around.
I will not badmouth a fellow commentator like that on air, but in terms of me and Jack, obviously we've got that. I'm a play-by-play. He's the colour guy. He used to play for Dignitas, so he knows the scene. He now does the live testing. So if there's anyone that could be in better position to talk about the ins and outs of a game, it's him, because he's doing the damn design himself. So he's perfectly placed for that. There's a few other colour commentators out there. Obviously, you got Dan Din as well. Dan himself says, some of the stuff he does, he wishes he could be better at it, and he practices. That guy works at it, Dan Din. If you've ever seen him at an event, for example, I don't think you'll mind me saying it, but like the MLG, we've done the intros for the last 2 times. Dan's done the intro right at the start of the show. I don't know whether you've ever tuned in to watch it, but Scarra might have seen it because he'd have been at Rally. So he's doing that intro at the stage, and he's introing the whole show.
Yeah.
He likes to get these things ahead of time. He generally won't get them at MLG. So he will sit there, and literally he'll lie down on the floor somewhere over on the side of the thing, and he'll be going through it, talking through it for like an hour, just going through it, running through it in his head. He'll practice it, because that's how he learns things, and that's exactly how he did it in League of Legends. That's how he learned his jungler, just repetition. That's how he gets good at it, and that's just one method that people are doing. Personally, I'll just screw it up about 3 times, and they go, "Oh, okay, I think I got it now." But yeah, I don't know. The partnerships, I guess it'd have to be me and Jack. I think that's what everyone wants to see as well.
A lot of people were still asking, have you been hired or not? So in case anyone turned up late.
Ongoing.
That's good.
I can't really say anything.
I know. Don't worry. It's just
until you say Riot Games say there's something happening. As far as I'm aware, I'm working for City Electrical Factors.
It's people coming in late. Don't get mad at me.
I know it is. I did talk about it at the start of the show, guys. You'll have to watch the VOD.
Good
Or,
point.
or
Good
just
plug.
watch the next show that I'm on in about an hour's time, because I'm probably going to have more bloody
You're going to be
questions.
busy, man.
I
Got to
know.
do all the PR now. Yeah, it'll be quite interesting, you, Jack. We have 2x dig there. We'll get shirts sent out to you. You can wear them during the thing. Plug away.
We had a big discussion on Reddit yesterday about the meta game at the moment, and a couple of people have asked us to ask you guys directly about the way that Riot release a patch every 2 weeks, how it affects the meta game. Does it affect the meta game in your opinions?
Yeah, of course it does. It's a change of the game every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's what keeps the pro scene fresh, if anything. That's what keeps these guys on their toes and stops them getting bored. Because every 2 weeks comes out, they have to scour them patch notes and go, where can we find the next overpowered hero in this? And where can we find the combo of what's just been adjusted that's going to work best? That's the way I see it. I mean, Scarra, you're obviously a pro player, so you'll have a better opinion.
I think it's pretty correct. A lot of the arguments for I think that stale meta thing was because the last couple of tournaments were all played on 3 patches ago. Like, so you're seeing the same teams do like the same strategies because like any new strategies they could do, like we can't even run because I know the minute I got back from PAX, all I did was I played like the new cat just to be like get a feel for how like she is and like play against Rengars and play against all this stuff that I've been missing because we're literally 3 patches behind playing at PAX, and so we like I think every patch allows for different things to happen like depending on how big the patch is, and I feel like I don't think the meta is stale at all. It's just that a lot of times it's especially regionally I think Koreans do the most to try to shift up the meta in terms of like just in general champion picks and where people will lane. You'll have 2v1 mids all the time for early tower pushes. You'll have Zyra support, Lux support, Morgana support. You'll see all kinds of random stuff in Korea because they put in 12 hours, 14 hours a day to practice weird, crazy stuff. And a lot of teams like in the US do not put in that equal amount of time. And so when they're looking for strategies for consistent results at tournaments, they can't go and bank on stuff like any of those weird strategies because they haven't practiced them enough. I know at PAX, like people ask me like, do we have anything else? And I'm like, yes, we did. We were one of the few teams that came in with like multiple strategies, and we didn't even use them all. Like there were certain ones that are only usable against certain teams, and we didn't even show anything. And then, but I felt like every other team didn't really have anything special going in. They just played extremely standard and won based on whether or not they were the better team. And you can argue that like a unique strategy and beating another team makes you the better team. And I certainly would back that to an extent. But if you try like a weird strategy, you better have backup strategies with that because like the minute you go into an extended series of best of 3 or best of 5, they're gonna just ban out everything you just did in that last game, and you have to have something to back it up. That's why like teams with the most consistent standard play typically win because they like even if they lose to some kind of weird strategy the first game, especially in the States, typically teams only have one type of like they call it cheese. I call it cheese too. I'll just call it like a unique strategy. They'll ban it out and they'll just beat the other team in straight up standard play in the next to finish off the set. And so in Korea, like sometimes that doesn't happen. Or in Asian countries, sometimes they go from like one really weird strategy to another really weird strategy, and then you're on tilt because you're like, well, we could ban out both strategies, but they might have a third one. Or if they just play standard and pick like 2 different champions, like we could be in trouble if we ban out both the strategies because we're leaving a lot of things on the board that make standard play very hard against certain champions. And so yeah, I don't know. I don't really think a stale meta exists. I feel like it's up to the players to innovate, and they are innovating. It's just that like a lot of the times you don't get to see it much, especially in North America, because like the amount of serious teams that exist, I would say there's only like a handful of serious teams, not even 8, who play play in Scrim more than 6 hours a day.
Well, I mean, I thought it was quite ironical that I saw that because only the day before had we seen the Saigon Jokers having Lux bottom 2v1 in no prob, the AD support mid. It clearly showed that the people that have been talking and discussing it on Reddit had not even watched it. They'd seen these things happen. And then you look at the OGN, the champions, Doublelift talked about it, the fact that CLG knew damn well that Azubu Frost would come in with an A-type combo. They're going to force him into it. They could fight that strategy. The fact that they took Diana because it was allowed in OGN, and the fact that Froggen had never actually practiced Diana at all with the team. He'd only ever played solo queue. I know that because I spoke to Snoopy earlier today. So that they went into it and they took Diana purely on the back basis that they knew Frost was going to do it. There's a lot of things still that are going on, and like you say, we were stuck on the Diana patch. Diana was banned because it had to be locked in across all the regions, so to make it fair. I guess the Korean region was probably the same next weekend, I think it is. The 4 teams are playing. Do you know what patch we're going to be on for the finals yet? Have they told you yet?
They have not told us. They said they'd get back to us, but like we're like pressuring because it's like, well, what do we have to prepare for? Because it's like, do we want to be practicing stuff that may get nerfed? Like, do we want to be looking for stuff that's that may be buffed? There's rumor mills started everywhere about like currently there's like an AP Rengar hype, and I've heard a lot of rumors that's gonna get nerfed. But will it get nerfed in time for World Championships? Will certain champions be seeing more nerfs? Like I was CLG Frost, the OG in the finals, was it played on Diana patch pre-nerf?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why she got picked so much. Because I was curious. I was like, why would you pick Diana this much? And then if it's pre-nerf, then yeah, I can understand that. And that's even more behind than we were. That's like 4 patches behind for us. And so like that's, or actually no, that's 3 patches behind. But they had Diana enabled. But still, so there's still a lot of like innovation that can occur from like the OGN final to World Championships, depending on what patch we'll be playing on.
So Dogbut's microphones took a dump, I think. I think that's what sounds like the issue was. So apologies to anyone that was getting blasted out by Dogbut's failed microphone. He's going to have to speak to us in text only, I think now, or it looks like he's going to attack the microphone or something. But yeah, I mean, you obviously talked about cheese strats. I see even beforehand, because I was obviously talking to Travis at the time. I think I was on Who's League 2 weeks ago, and you were there practicing. Saying that you got cheese, and I was like, there is no more cheese. People have pretty much seen everything now. Do you still believe there's really things that people haven't seen? Bearing in mind there's some of the crazy stuff we've seen from Korea, from China, from Vietnam. There's
some crazy strategies that we've just recently like.
But are they all or nothing? Are they just shit or bust?
Some of them are. Some of them are like. You go in, and if you like mess up your level 1, they take 1 buff, or they take the wrong buff, or they take the right buff, or maybe like they just send 2 top. Your entire strategy is blown. But if it works out, like you get the advantage, like you get such a strong advantage. Like I don't want to say too much, but like actually one of our strategies no longer works going into like the minute they just released the patch notes for the current patch on live, like one of our strats like
will no longer work.
Got crushed, and I was just like, okay, well, I guess that doesn't work anymore. And that's something we had been practicing for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so that was a little bit weird.
That's a bit disheartening.
Yeah.
Which is also a problem when you don't know what patch you're going to be on. That is the key problem at the moment in League of Legends. Every time a tournament comes out, it's like, what patch are we on? Okay, that doesn't work. This works, and then you got to who can adjust the best. So, for example, when we were in Poland before Gamescom, Rumble was really strong. So suddenly Rumble was like played non-stop, and the COG were well onto it because the Koreans had been hitting them hard with it, with you guys when you were in Korea as well. And then the next week we're in New York, and suddenly Rumble's no good, and we're with Adazubi Plays there. They still used it to good effect, actually. Well, they stomped everyone, to be fair. But it's really hard for you guys, especially COG EU are a prime example. I know obviously because I've spoken to them a lot lately, but they've been doing some crazy traveling. Going back and forward, and how they handled it, going from Poland on one patch, back to Korea to play a match. I think it was the quarterfinals or semi-finals on a different patch to come back to Gamescom for another patch for the regionals, to go back to Korea for another, I think the semi-finals game on the other patch, and then go over to Taiwan to play a show match on some other one, to come back to OGN. I mean, how the hell you guys keep up with that sort of thing is just insane.
Yep. I thought like it was actually probably really good for EU because they got a lot of LAN experience they needed. Like just being on stage for nerves and stuff like that, it was very key that they don't get shaken up in World Championships because they're coming in from the group stage. They're coming in from our group stage, and we pray to God we don't get we don't get a IG in our group stage too, because that would be a absolutely brutal group
so
stage.
do you think you're going to play COG? I mean, I'm assuming you
Oh,
are.
COG, you absolutely. They will 100% be in our group stage. Yes.
Yeah.
So it actually was bad of us to get second place. Yeah, like that was the worst. The worst of the that was the worst of the top three to get. After COG went third, but it will be an okay group stage as long as we don't get the second place Chinese team IG. If we get them, then the group stage will be the group of death. Regardless of what the fourth team will be, if the fourth team is like,
it could be a Zuby Blaze. It could be Nanjing Sword. It could be anyone drop in there.
I don't think it'll stack the Chinese group and the Korean.
Yeah, I think the Chinese Korean are going to be separate. It's going to be the Vietnamese and Taipei Assassins. So you could get Taipei Assassins, Zubu Blaze, COGU, and you.
Yeah, it could be a brutal group, or we could get like the second Korean team and like Saigon Jokers, which would be a lot easier. So we're actually just waiting for brackets too, because it's hard to scout teams when you don't have any idea where you're going to be playing.
And you guys actually rated Nanjing above Blaze, didn't you? When you were over
I rated Storm above everyone. Like, we thought Storm was really good. They just have like a couple issues. So Storm is in the Korean nationals, right?
Yeah.
It's Storm, Azubu Blaze. Is LGIM in there as well?
I'm just going to try and think of where I can look it up. I did see a list. Where did I see it? Leaguepedia, of course. That's where I would have seen it.
There we go. Shout out to Leaguepedia.
Hey, shout out to Alex Penn. He just got a job at MLG today.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, good on that guy.
I'm very happy for him.
I don't know where I'm going to look for this.
It's fine.
Season 2 regionals, Seoul. There we go. It is CG Entus, Zenix Storm, Nanjing Sword, Incredible Miracle, and Azubu Blaze.
Okay, so LGIM and Zenix Storm are both going to be in there. Those will probably be the best. Those three and Azubu Blaze are going to be the. I will probably stay up to watch the Korean regionals. That's how much I think the quality of games will be there, because I have very high hopes to see Storm or LGIM coming into, or Azubu Blaze coming into the second seed for Korean Nationals.
So when's that? September 12th, by the looks of it. September 12th, 14th, 19th, 21st. Yes. It's LGIM versus CJ Entus tomorrow. There you go. At 11:30 UK time. Oh God, I'm at work and I'm going to miss that one again, aren't I?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Can I ask your thoughts on Startail dropping their League of Legends team?
Go for it, Scarra. You go. You played them.
There's not much to say about it. It's literally like from what I understand, Korean sponsors don't a lot of teams in Korea are don't have much money. Wow, I said that really badly, but yeah, they don't have much financial backing from sponsors. A lot of people outside of LGIM don't get the financial backing that's required to pay people well. And so teams like a lot of the League of Legends teams, especially every team from MVP, for instance, all three teams, they don't get paid salary. They just get paid living expenses, and they are provided living expenses. You have to live in one house for all three teams, and it's really not there's no glorified vision of esports in Korea. People know you have to work really, really hard to get there, and on top of that, having the fact that the sponsors not having strong financial backing. I can understand why StarTale wanted to pull out from their League of Legends team because their StarCraft team does look more consistent and has better history. There's outside of that, there's really not much to say.
You can.
Hmm.
He's just going to kick off his streams, I'm sure.
No, I have scrims in an hour.
Oh, scrims. Oh, nice. Okay,
Mhm.
get that practice in. Can I just squeeze a
hang
question
on.
in? I want a question. I got a question for Scarra. Is there a point? I mean, I know you guys talked about it in career that you were scrimming for like 12, 14 hours a day. Do you not think there's a point where you're over scrimming? You're going to burn yourself out too much?
Uh, there is, but it's something you have to approach delicately because
To
like
balance it,
uh,
yeah.
yeah, there has to be a balance, but I think especially going into worlds and regionals, if everyone's dedicated, scrimming 12, 14 hours a day is not an issue as long as you have like one break day. I think right now we're set for 1 or 2 break days a week, so we should be good, and we're scrimming about 8 hours a day.
Okay.
Maybe putting in more or less depending on what specific day. But we have a really good regimented scrim schedule starting this week, and so that's why yesterday like I was off the whole day because I was scrimming, and today I'll be scrimming and then playing the tournament until like 10 or 11.
I'm going to
So,
take a pot shot guess and say your main scrim partner is CLG Prime.
no, that would actually be bad
No.
for us.
Why would
We
it?
actually
You're in opposite
um,
groups. You'll never meet.
that's true, but they talk with CLGU a lot, and
Or
so
you could
Hello.
be SK maybe.
what
SK maybe.
like our main scrim partners we wanted to be TSM, but their scrim schedule was already filled for most of the week because I think they scrim a lot in Europe, and
Right.
so we got them for like 1 or 2 days a week, which is fine. Like that's the only opening they can afford to give, and I think their main scrim partners are like in five, and
Yeah.
so I can understand why they
That
would
would
want
make
to.
sense because they're never going
Yeah,
to meet. Well, they
right,
could
right.
in the
And so
quarters,
we
semis
would we
rather.
would love to scrim TSM as much as possible, but right now we're focused on just finding stuff that's not like I would love to scrim CLGU because I feel
Yeah.
like they're a great team and they're in the States, but we can't play them because they're literally
Yeah.
in our. So we're like, okay, well this
They're having
sucks.
a week off anyway, so you won't be able to scrim them. I think they're having
Yeah,
a week off and then they're off to China, I believe.
Oh my god,
Yeah, they're off to China
that's
for a week,
traveling.
and then they're coming back, and then they're scrimming for like 2 or 3 weeks solid, whatever it is. However it works out. They're
Can
going
you
to
hear
be
me,
busy.
guys?
Yeah, we can.
I don't know what my problem is today. Everything works fine. I've never had any audio issues, and then bang! Here you go. It's beeping time. Some quick questions got here. Am I still muted, or people hearing me?
I'm just checking. Sorry, they can hear you again by the sound.
Yes!
Yeah, yeah.
Yes! It's a bit loud, though. Very loud, okay. Is there going to be roster changes for Season 3, do you think, Scarra? That's one question.
Absolutely. Wait, for Dignitas?
I believe
Probably
so.
not. For my team, there might be, but as of now, there's nothing on my mind that could pinpoint somewhere where we'd roster slot. But maybe like let's say we do a poor showing in Worlds, and some people will have think that maybe they want to pursue like education instead. If that occurs, then yes, we might have to swap. I feel like that choice is uh much less or much more obvious for us, like what the rewards of doing each route, because we're already qualified to get a salary in season 3. So like okay, well at least for 1 year, it's pretty stable that this is what you're gonna get and this is what's gonna happen. But I feel like for other teams outside of us, there are going to be a lot of roster stops going to season 3. Like I 100% know that it will be. Evo dropped like their whole team.
Yeah.
Evo doesn't exist. Orb dropped their mid player. And like Curse is switching up their top lane, and this is just like the tip of the iceberg. Like going into season 3, especially
Yeah, season 3
especially
stuff. I mean,
yeah, season 3 stuff.
when do they get locked in for season 3? Because
Um,
they're obviously locked in for season 2 now. Your rosters are. and you
I think
can't
it's
change
just
anything now.
it's just at the start of the season. So a couple months after the season 2 World Championships, that'll be when everything's locked in.
You're
Especially if you're,
effectively getting transfer deadlines now, aren't you? This is becoming real.
yeah, yeah, and then we also have to have like subs for every team.
Yeah,
Like you have to have subs,
yeah.
and they're like contractually obligated to show up on every time you play in case one of your members can't make it. So not only are they subs, they have to be like consistent,
All
dedicated
rounders.
subs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that would be quite interesting. And the thing is, I feel like the strong players, if they're looking to get picked up by teams, will be approached to sub for a team because you can't sub for multiple teams. And so I feel like the strong players will be picked up very fast for subs if they're not on a pro series team already.
Yeah, yeah.
Have we picked up a sub yet? Do we have any info on that you can shed light on?
We have no idea. Like I'll be honest, we haven't even thought about subs. So
You got a
far.
couple of months to
Just,
decide on that.
yeah,
Surely.
we're just focusing on world championships. One step at a time is the best way to take stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I forgot we've got that little thing called the Season 2 World Championships before Season 3. Let's take some questions from chat and from Reddit that I got earlier. Everybody wants to know, is there any chance you'll play Katarina in a competitive game? You must get this question every day, I'm sure, Scarra.
The chance always exists. That it is more likely now that we're playing on the new patch that you will see her. The old patch, she was really only limited into 2 counter picks, 3 counter picks. One of them is a champion that people don't even play anymore. So, and I can probably say that like I would play Cat in a brand matchup because I feel like pre-patch, pre-buff, the brand matchup was all skill-based, and there wasn't a strong enough brand player I've seen ever that
You could jump the shot, jump out of the way of it. Yeah.
yeah. So like I would just I'll play that matchup. But like after the changes, she's become more competitively viable, but I feel like she's less fun to play. But so at least you'll the chance of you seeing her at world championships or regionals or somewhere is probably pretty high. Like I would it'd be
I would
pretty
relish the opportunity to say, and another reset.
high. Yeah.
And another reset.
I don't know
I
so
still
much
do
about
that when I play it. I do it in your voice.
Oh my god. But yeah, I don't know if we'll go for her because it's very risky in group stage. But if we make it out group stage and in a long series, like Cat is a very effective pick. But I don't even know what our strategies are going to be for group stage because they haven't announced them yet. So we'll see.
A lot of people as well asking, how are you preparing any differently for Season 2 World Championships than how you normally do?
We just have a more regimented scrim schedule now. I think before we had a regimented scrim schedule, but like people would flake. Like other teams would flake quite consistently on us. To the point where like we were actually really annoyed scrimming coming from Korea and then scrimming in NA. In Korea, if you're looking to scrim, you just ask a team the day before or the day of, and they'll say yes or no, and they can scrim for this amount of time. And in NA, it's like you set up a time and like half their players don't show up, and you're like, okay, well now I just wasted like this entire time slot, and then you can't find a team for that time slot. So it's like NA teams typically scrim really late. Like they only get like a wake up past 2 p.m. PST, which is like 2 hours after the time that you would scrim in Korea, and it's just a weird thing. Like especially if you don't schedule it well in advance, have everyone on the same page and like you need to be there. I think right now we have a much better scheduled scrim schedule than we did before. Like before, we were still pushing like 6+ hours a day, but now we have like a regimented 6, 7, 8 every day except for like our break days. So I'm very excited to get into that. I think yesterday was our first day, and I played horribly. So I'm hoping to improve a lot going into the World Championships.
And at the World Championships, who do you think is going to be the toughest opponents that you'll have to face out of everybody?
I think everyone, like a lot of people on my team, agree that M5 is a strong contender. Like Korean teams that don't necessarily scare us too much. We've been in Korea, we've seen what they do. We have pretty consistent results against Korean teams, and I feel like our team is stronger coming back from Korea than in Korea. The main issue with with our statement is that like we played in 5 on 2 separate occasions, and like those are the occasions where like we've got smashed like the hardest. And I will say that we were a much weaker team back then, but like they don't M5 doesn't look any like weaker. They look even stronger every time we see them. And so I feel like M5 is a strong contender. I would be very surprised if M5 does not place top 3. I could quickly throw that. Like, I would be very surprised if M5 does not take top 3 at World Championships.
Yeah, I mean that's only 2 games for them, really.
Yeah.
All they're going to do the quarterfinals, semi-finals. 3 games. 3rd place.
After ambushing you about all of these questions about commentating, Deman, I've got a nice one for you from Twitter. This one is from Yuki. Why are you so awesome?
Well, I don't know. Blame the parents. You know, my dad is awesome. That's why. Because my dad is awesome. That's what I'm going to do. That's where I get the talk to anyone. I can go in a bar and start talking to anyone in that bar quite happily. I mean, I've been up in Durham, obviously near Dog, but I've been up there many a time up that way, and he's always been like, "Yeah, come up here," and I'm just like, to be honest, I just give it a bar and I just start talking to people. I just get a beer and just start having a chat at the bar or something, you know, and that's where I get it from. I can quite happily talk about anyone to anything, recollect things. I mean, I only started casting because I used to write down these war reports in Battlefield 1942 on Clanbase many years ago because I could just recollect everything that happened in the game. And honestly, you could probably ask most of the pro players. I saw the odd one doing his history thing the other day, and he was recollecting things from games like a year, 18 months ago, and he was like, "Oh, that's the one where we did this thing wrong," and that's where you get it, and that's you can just. You're that into the game that you can remember that moment from a year plus ago after all those hundreds of thousands of games you've played in scrims, in solo, in everything. You can still remember that exact moment. And, you know, you could ask Scarra probably about some game like trying to qualify for Season 1 with Rock Solid, and I'm sure he probably remembers the details of some of those games.
Oh yeah. There was some real like that was a qualifier which we don't speak of anymore because like that was like the darkest
So
joke.
close!
It was the darkest joke for our team because we had the games and threw them so far out of reach. It was unbelievable. Like, oh my god. But yeah. Like I remember like the first qualifier that made us like get back to the public was New York qualifiers against CLG in a best of 1 setting through the open bracket. We beat them in I think 19 minutes, 19 or like 25 minutes with Katarina and Renekton. And like people were like, "What the? Where did this team
What
come
just
from?"
happened?
And I was
Yeah.
just like, "This is hilarious." Like it was really funny.
And sorry, another nasty one, Demon. This one actually, Dogbert just wrote out in chat for me, so you can blame him for this one. If the worst case is that I say worst, if you stay at your job, does that mean you'll be gone forever from esports, or will it just be a break?
6 months is a very long time to be out of esports. You know, to break into events takes a lot of work, and any caster that's trying it, hey, I've been doing this for nigh on 8, 9, 10 years, wherever it is, something like that. It takes a lot of doing to get into it. Granted, now that I've got my name in there, I probably would be able to sneak my way back in somehow. But for example, look at ReadyUp. ReadyUp's actually got back into it kind of thing, and he's now hosting these things. But ReadyUp's a kick-ass commentator, but he hasn't got time to commentate. He hasn't really got a game to commentate. He did CBIT, obviously, but he's, I guess, in a similar situation to me. He's in fact, he's even worse than me because he's got daughters that rely on him. But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, if I was to spend 6 months out of the industry, literally all I'd be doing is online stuff, and I barely do online stuff because people don't pay for online stuff. They all want it for free, which is why you get all these newer casters doing it, to be as polite as I could possibly put it. They don't want to pay for it. They'll happily milk it and get like 20, 40k viewers, and they'll be like, yeah, but we ain't paying you guys. And that's why I don't tend to do online stuff. If you see me doing online, I'm probably getting paid for it in some way, shape, or form. Now, that's not like an ego thing or a big thing. It's just when you get to the stage that you're doing arenas, events all the time, you've got to manage your time well and judge what you do, and make sure you can keep your level that highness. If you're suddenly got to do forced to commentate with this person, and you're going, but why want to commentate with this person? As there's been okay. I'm going to put it straight out there. There's been a fairly reasonable big tournament in Europe lately, and I said, I can commentate this with Jat. And they said, no, we want you to commentate it with this person. I'm like, but Jat. And they're like, no, we want to commentate this. I'm like, I'm offering you Riot Jat. Do you not comprehend? And they're like, no, you'd have to do it with this person. So it didn't happen. It went off and it was fairly successful, but it would have been epic if me and John were doing it. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. To do online stuff only and not get these events that I know damn well I could go to, and to have to turn down the events, it'd kill me. I'd have to probably just stop doing it, I think.
If that was the case, might we see you on British shores again at iSeries? Would that be out the question?
Because if I was stopped doing it, I wouldn't be doing it. That would be that. And unfortunately for iSeries, they run longer than your normal events because they run Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and generally Monday. And there's a lot of drinking involved at them events.
Well, hopefully everything works out and we can keep you on our screens. But as you said, nothing's been confirmed yet, so we'll have to see what comes of all of that. I think we're going to wrap up the show fairly soon, guys, because you've got to go and do Whose League Is It Anyway later this evening with Travis.
Yes.
So any last thoughts, shout-outs, Demon, that you want to give?
I always give a shout out to Joe Miller. He won't see it because he's traveling home right now. And if it wasn't for Joe, I wouldn't be doing League. Right? Simple as that. He got me back into the fold. I slip away from casting sort of every time an decent MMO comes out, I should say. There's not been a decent one for a long time. And he's pulled me back into it. So thanks to Joe Miller for getting me back in here.
And Doug wants to know, have you seen the bar for I-46?
The new bar at I-46. I did see the new stage and the new setup. That looked pretty awesome. But I-47, holy cow, have you seen that?
Yes.
UK pole dancing championships at the same time next door. Holy cow, I want to go. There's going to be 500 pole dancers at that event, and there's going to be 1,500 nerds next door. That is a recipe for disaster.
It is going to be the most awkward gathering of nerds you've ever seen. If one of the pole dancers just wanders through the exhibition hall, there is going to be all sorts of chaos.
Yeah.
How about you, Scarra? Any shout-outs, any messages you want to give to anybody?
Nothing outside the generic. I feel like just very sad. Like, thank you for inviting me onto the show. Like, it's been a while since I've been on a show. I think I actually overslept the last time you guys invited me on, so I felt really bad about that. And obviously, thanks for our shout outs to our fans who are still with us. I understand we get in a lot of these random drama situations a lot, and that's definitely at least, if not fully, partially our fault. And so we'll try to stay away from this kind of stuff as much as possible. I'm glad for the fans who've stuck with us through thick and thin. I understand we've been through a lot of thin recently, so I'm hoping we perform at least decently well at the World Championships. And shout out to Team Dignitas, obviously, for sponsoring us, and all of our sponsors for Team Dignitas as well.
And, of course, Alienware for sponsoring ReadyUpTV. And we'll be back next week. We'll post a couple of tweets about who we'll have next week. Not too sure at the moment. But you can follow Scarra on Twitter at @dscarra. And what's your Twitch link? 'Cause I know you're streaming quite a bit now, Scarra.
It's www. It's just twitchtv.com/Scarra. It used to be something else, but they got me my name for Twitch, and I'm very happy. So this is a very standard Twitch twitch.tv/Scarra is my homepage.
So obviously, even though you've only got a desk and a lamp, you've got a laptop good enough to stream. Is it, Scarra?
Yes, I've streamed the last couple of days, and I'm hoping to keep up a schedule where I can stream on my break days, going into preparing for World Championships.
I got one last question as well. I want to sneak in. How are you doing now that your parents have gone all off to China and you're all on your own in the big LA? The ground keeps shaking. You know, you keep getting these earthquakes. How's it going there? Now you're there, living on your own.
The biggest gripe is like the property costs. Like rent costs is so like I come from College Station. I come from a college town where like every apartment complex fights for people. So like fully furnished room is like $600, and like sometimes they pay for utilities, and they give you like free TVs and couches and stuff like that. And then like now I have an unfurnished room. I'm paying like $1,000 a month for it, and like it's smaller and it's in like a worse area, and I'm just like, oh my God. And like when you go out to eat, like lunches at like where I'm from, College Station, is like $8 to $12. Like that would be like $12 is on like the high end if you're looking for like a really big meal and you want to treat yourself. And like a lot of times in LA, like I'm paying like $15 plus per every meal I go out to eat, and I'm just like, oh my God, how do people even live here paying this much for food? Like I went to like a really fancy sushi place where like the cost was like anywhere between like $20 to $40, and I was just like, oh my God, the food is excellent. Like don't get me wrong, LA food is absolutely phenomenal, but it's just like the cost of food is not something that I was prepared for, and the cost of living was like I kind of prepared for it, but like it didn't really sink in until I lived here.
I know the guys, the Riot guys that came over to Rally, they were all saying the same thing. They're like, oh my God, it's so cheap here. And when we went to Poland, oh my God, they were just like, good God, how is this everything so cheap? I'm moving here.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you can follow Deman on Twitter at QVDemon. Dogbert is at Mr. Dogbert. I am at Dignitas Stress. We will be back next week. Dogbert's giving me a weird look, so maybe he's not at Mr. Dogbert, but maybe he can sign it out. I don't know. Now he's miming at me. Who knows? We will be back most likely next Monday at our normal time of 8 p.m.
Yeah, that was my fault.
Yeah.
I got to move to Tuesday. Sorry, guys. The gym does not wait for no man.
I'm sure it was worth it, though. It's been a great show. Thanks to everybody in chat, to Sui and AVA, Grant, for modding the chat. You had some great questions for us this evening. Yeah, we'll be back next week. And don't forget to keep watching Scarra's stream during the week, where you can find out more places on the League of Legends map where you can't drop wards.
Wow.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. I forgot about that moment.
Oh, my God.
That moment went to the top of Reddit.
So
There's a few things got to the top of Reddit the last few weeks, but that moment was up there that I recognized.
That was like, that went up in 50 minutes. I was like, are you kidding me? That was so bad. Oh, my God.
It's the moment where you stopped and you just looked at it, and you could see your face just looking at it, and you didn't move in the game. You were just like, did that just happen?
Yeah, it was awful.
But yeah, thank you again, guys, and we will see you next week.
He's like, I'm never gonna let you live this down. I'm like, oh God.